Hello.
Good morning, Miranda. Hi, how are
Hello.
you?
Good. How are you?
Yes, I'm very lucky to be able to speak to you so short time before the race.
Perfect.
For my
So,
readers, I'm talking to Miranda Merron, who is going to do her first Vendee Globe, and I'm sure there are some thoughts about that. Normally, you are sailing with your partner and companion, Alvar Mabir, and you have been a long time in the class 14. Now you have taken the big step into the bigger and stronger, more forceful. Uh,
yeah,
are you comfortable?
yes, it's because well, you can't do the Vendee Globe in class 40, which is a real shame because they're human-sized boats and much, obviously the budget is more reasonable. But yeah, no, I'm delighted to be. I'm actually returning to the Imoca class after a break of about 10 years or 11 years that I have raced in Imocas before.
Mm.
Obviously, I've done, and in terms of solo in Imoca, I did the Route du Rhum in 2002 on UUDS, which was actually Alain Gautier's winning boat from 1992,
Yeah,
Bagage Supérieur.
yeah. So you're not a newcomer to this type of racing. What is new in a way is that normally you have been sailing with Alvar in double-handed sailing, and now it's you. So why is it you and not him?
Well, uh, because a number of reasons. Alvar thinks that it's something he should have done years ago, and it's too late. However, he is my replacement skipper should something happen in the next 3 weeks. And also for our sponsors, it's quite good. And it was because I had asked whether I could have a go at the 40-foot solo around the world record when we still had our class 40. And he said yes, and you might even beat the record, and it's which would be an extraordinary thing to do. And no one will ever know about it because it's quite a hard thing for sponsors to activate. Whereas the Vendée Globe is a way of uh, racing around the world solo. It's quite good to do it in a fleet because we go to places that mankind shouldn't really go, and especially it's a nice way of thanking 9 years of support from our sponsors, Campagne de France.
Yes, because you have the same sponsors now that you've had in your class 40.
Yeah, since 2011.
Yeah, so they were delighted when you launched on a IMOCA.
Yeah, yes, but yes, nevertheless, the budget is still the class 40 budget, so it's been quite
Yes,
hard
I was
work.
going to ask that. You, of course, you have an old boat from 2006, I think it is. So it's a 14-year-old
Yeah,
boat, or yeah,
yes.
14-year-old boat. And you don't have any retrofitted forge or anything, so you are really
No, apart from the fact that it's financially impossible.
yeah.
Um, it still wouldn't turn the boat into a winning boat. And actually, she's incredibly well built. She was built in New Zealand, very well built boat, very solid, and simpler, obviously. And the primary aim is to actually finish the race. So hopefully, by having a reliable, well built, slightly simpler boat, that will help try to get to the finish. Help me try to get to the finish. Um, And actually, the foiling boats are so uncomfortable. I'm actually really pleased to be doing it on possibly a slower but a well-built boat.
Hmm. And if you look at the Vendée Globes in the past, it's never really been more than 50% of the starters that will finish. So you can still be in the upper half.
Well, that would be nice. I mean, I hope that everyone will finish, but statistically, that's pretty much impossible, isn't it?
Mm.
So on paper, I'm somewhere between 29th and 33rd. So if I do better than that, then that's a good start.
Well, this time there are 6 women in the race. Why is that?
Why? Well, it's good. There's no real reason. Sailing is one of the few sports where women really can compete on an equal footing. Um, it's it's not surprising that finally we're starting to see more women in these races. So the Vendée Globe is a huge commitment. And I don't think that there are that many women who can do it because a lot of women have families and commitments and possibly career ambitions elsewhere, or perhaps a partner who wouldn't really want them to go away for that length of time. And it's not just the race time, it's all the preparation time. It's a huge commitment. It's a very selfish thing to do, and not that many women are, free to do that, I think.
No, but it also requires a great deal of strength. You're going to deal with more than 300 square meter upwind sails and 600 square meter downwind sails. It's not an easy task.
No, these boats, the Mocha 60s, are incredibly physical, and the sails are really heavy. And obviously we stack everything. So that's probably about 500 kilos of kit to move around every time the wind changes, or you tack, or you jibe. Yes, it's hard work, but there's a lot of mind over matter as well.
So are you saying that you have less furlers than the more modern boats?
No, I've got the same furlers. Our sails are really good. We put our small budget into having really good sails. Yeah. They are the engine of the boat.
Right. What is your budget?
I can't tell you, but it's pretty small.
Yeah. You said it is about the same budget as a Class 40, is that it?
It's a slightly boosted Class 40 budget.
Right.
We've got a little bit of additional help from the Department of La Manche and from the region of Normandy.
Yeah. Your own background, you're born into a sailing family. I gather you sailed 14-footer with your father when you were pretty young.
Yes. My father taught me to sail. Yeah. And we first crossed the Atlantic when I was 9 because my parents had bought an old ocean racer when I was about 7, I think, 7 or 8, when we lived in Canada. And when my father's job took him to England when I was 9, we sailed the boat across the Atlantic. And then when his job took him to Puerto Rico when I was 12, we sailed the boat to Puerto Rico, across the Atlantic again.
Right. But then you had a rather civil life as a person in advertising before you went into sailing full time.
It's always good to have to not rely just on sailing. Actually, I had a good job in advertising. I spent 4 happy years working in advertising, but then I did really want to go sailing, and I had no idea it was possible to become a professional sailor in the racing world. But I was more aiming for the charter industry. Yeah. But in those days, you walked the dock to get rides on boats, and that's precisely what I did. And I ended up on a good boat in the States. We won an event. We won Key West. So the owner invited me back for the next event in Miami a few weeks later. We won that too. Not because of me, because the team was good. And the following year I was boat captain of that boat. And and in sailing, it's a lot about. This is long before mobile phones or anything like that. It was all about, meeting people, talking to them in the beer tent, and making friends, and that's how I was getting my rides. And here I am 25 years later, about to set off on the biggest adventure of my life.
Exactly. And you are sort of merged into the French philosophy and traditions of short-handed sailing. You are British by nationality, but
yes.
You've been living in Paris since you were very young, and now, of course, Alvar, who's a full-fledged Frenchman, is your partner.
Yes, yeah, he's Norman, actually. I think he'd be insulted if you called him French.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I still, not this year because it's been harder to travel, but I do still share my time between my home in England and France, since it's literally just across the channel. When we had the Class 40, we used to just commute backwards and forwards, and I'd go and collect my post, and it's harder with the 60 to do that. But really what happened was in 1999 with Emma Richards, I raced with Emma Richards on an Open 50 sponsored by Pinder in the Jacques Vabre in 1999, and we discovered the incredible world of short-handed racing, and once you've tasted it, you never look back. Obviously it's much harder work because you have to be able to do everything, and you sleep a lot less than on a fully crewed boat, but it is so satisfying and it's so much fun. And I've never really looked back.
What kind of training do you do other than just sailing?
What fitness?
Yes.
A bit of rowing, a bit of cycling. Never enough because I work on the boat as well.
Well,
and do everything else.
Yourself, of course.
You know, I'm quite jealous of some of my fellow skippers who all they have to do is, you know, look after their fitness and study the weather and, you know, put their gloves on when they get on the boat to go training. What a wonderful life that would be. But anyway, that's not the way it is. That's not my reality.
What is it that drives you to Vendee Globe? What are you looking most forward to?
What am I most looking forward to? Oh, all of it, I think. What I'm actually dreading is the start, because I'm worried about a collision with there's so many boats on the water. I imagine I'll feel slightly anxious when I start getting into the south of the South Atlantic, but I have been down south before. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like all things in life, you forget the bad moments and you just remember the good ones.
Right. It's also a challenge to decide how far south you're going to go to sail the short distance.
No, because we have an ice limit.
Yeah.
So we're limited. So actually, the course is a bit longer. The course is a bit longer than it used to be.
And you think you're going all the way close to the ice limit?
Well, that will depend on what's happening with the weather, but quite likely.
What's the worst thing that could happen in this race?
The worst thing? To have a technical issue that forces me out of the race. Yeah.
You're not afraid of hitting icebergs or growlers or things?
Well, the reason for that ice limit is to try and keep us out of the ice. However, there is an awful lot of other stuff in the water that you could hit.
Yes.
And it's best not to think about it.
Right, containers and whales.
Yes.
Yes. What is the most vulnerable parts on an IMOCA 60? You have enormous forces and things can break. What is the most?
I'd say two things. One would be a collision with something, and the other would be. Sorry, I'm going to find my charger. I'm thinking being caught out by the weather with too much sail up and not being able to deal with it.
Yeah. You have carbon spars, I gather.
Yeah, and I have the tallest rig in the fleet. My rig is 28 meters above the deck.
Yeah,
which is really, you know, it would have been. We would have really liked to have shortened the mast, but we didn't have enough money to do that, and that would have changed the performance of the boat as well.
What is your procedure when the wind strengthens? How are you going to reduce the sails first? Is it to reef the main?
Well, upwind. First part is reef the main, then change from solent to trinquet, then second reef. So that's upwind. Reaching, it's different. Quite often, if it's windy, you get down to the second reef very quickly, even with fractional or masthead downwind sails.
So you will have to change sails. It's not just to furl up some jibs and then you are at the right configuration.
No, no, there are the Genicos. You have to actually put the Genicos up and the reaching sails. However, we added a second fractional halyard last winter to the mast, so I can in the south have two furling sails that are fractional, one on the bowsprit and one on the bow, both hoisted at the same time, and I can just furl one and unfurl the other. So that's quite nice and safe. I won't have to go on the foredeck if the conditions are such that it's those heavy weather sails that I'm using.
You said earlier that sailing is one of the few sports where men and women can compete on equal level. And with regard to the enormous strengths or forces in big sails, nobody can deal with that anyway without the technique. So supposedly, if you have the right technique, Right.
Yeah, I think the real rule is to not get caught out in the first place.
Yeah.
Really anticipate everything.
Do you think that there are any women who have a chance to do real well? I mean, a podium position.
Yeah. Yes, I think Sam Davies has a good chance, and Isabelle Josh could do pretty well too.
Yeah.
So in the Vendee Globe, amongst us 6 women, there are 3 wealthy teams and 3 poor teams.
Right.
Clarice Kremer has also got a really good boat. She has a non-foiling boat, but it is by far the best non-foiling boat. So I expect those 3 to do reasonably well. But I think Sam Davies and Isabelle Josh could do really good things.
This year is a record participation of the 33 entries. Why is it that the Vendee Globe has such a huge success in attracting teams more than any other sort of big ocean racing regatta, it seems?
Well, in the Route du Rhum, we were 53 Class 40s last time, so that was even more.
Yeah.
Why? Because it is, quite simply, I think it is possibly the hardest race, and the absolute pinnacle of anyone in short-handed racing's career is to do the Vendee Globe. So competition for places is quite tight, and actually it was supposed to be only 30 boats, and we managed to get it extended to 34 because at the time there were about 38 or 39 boats candidates. But actually it has ended up being whittled down to 33 for different reasons. So and there simply isn't capacity for more than that in the harbour anyway in Les Sables d'Olonne, especially with boats with a massive foil sticking out the side. And also I suppose from the organisers' point of view, it helps keep it slightly elite as well.
Do you think that the association with the ocean race, the former Volvo Ocean Race, has increased the interest in the IMOCA 60 class?
I don't know. I think it is, I think as a class on its own with the Vendee Globe as its major race, it was an. It's hard for me to say. I don't know because I'm not going to do the Volvo Ocean Race. I haven't really followed that. Also, I'm not going to do the ocean race. What do you think?
I think perhaps it's the other way around, that the IMOCA 60 has increased the interest in the Volvo race or in the ocean race.
The ocean race, yeah, possibly. But I'm not quite sure how you fit 5 people on them.
No, that's interesting.
And also, they're made to be raced short-handed. So if you race fully crewed, you're going to be loading them even more. And I'm not quite sure I don't know whether they'll stand. I don't know whether they'll be able to stand it.
No.
Anyway, I will watch with great interest from afar.
Are you having sleepless nights over this? Are you waking up in the middle of the night and wondering what you have let yourself into?
No, not at all. Because I've been so busy working on the boat and doing all the logistics, and because we have been a team where we're only 2 of us full time on the project, and that's Alvaro and I. I've been so busy that I haven't really had time to kind of think about it. I think it's 3 weeks today now, the start. I think in about 10 days' time, I'm going to start getting quite, how should I say, pre-race butterflies.
What is going to be your greatest time? Is it at the start, in anticipation, or is it in relief when you are finished?
Well, there are 2 moments. One great moment will be when the last press boat or team support boat turns back after the start. So that's 2 or 3 hours after the start, and you're finally on your own. That's, for me, is when the race really starts, and that's always quite a magical moment and quite a surprising. It's quite emotional. I imagine. I mean, you never start a race without thinking that you're going to finish it. So I really do intend to finish this race. And I imagine that the finish will be absolutely magic.
Yes,
but that's a very long way away. That's 26,000 miles away.
Yeah. And Les Sables d'Olonne is a magical place, both for start and finish, with all the people.
Perhaps. It is. There are fewer people this year because of the coronavirus restrictions.
Of course.
I don't know. You have to ask me after the race.
Yeah.
I never think about the finish of a race until the last 24 hours of a race anyway. But I also never set out on a race without the intention of finishing it.
Who do you think is going to win the race?
Well, I hope Alex Thommessen wins the race.
Yeah, well, he's been very nice.
I think it's likely to be at least at the moment. I think it's likely to be between Jeremy Bayou, Charlie Dalin, and Thomas Royan.
Right.
But anything can happen. Yeah.
Why do you rate those guys the highest?
Well, just from their form on the Vendee Arctic, I think the Vendee Arctic was an excellent race. Really good pre-Vendee Globe training, and they just seem to be a notch above the others.
Yeah. Well, Miranda, it's been very nice to talk to you and listen to your impressions before the race and your insight. I hope we'll have a chance to talk when you get back in about 100 days.
Yes, and it will take me a while.
Same to you, and have a good trip.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining.
Bye.